Hello, everybody. And after a fucking long while,
It's been a minute.
welcome back to the Classic Quest. It feels damn good to say that again.
Been a while.
My name is HSR.
My name's Chris Crow.
And it's your lady friend, Bonnie.
She's back.
I'm back!
And it's episode 31, which is cool because, like, Rockin' Beards was way behind. That's the rock show. And now it's ahead, so we can try and catch up over here again.
We can get that Lupe Fiasco album done and out of the way now.
Yeah, it's seriously been on the board for like a month just there. And we're doing Tetsuo Youth. That's the name of the album.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you don't really care about anything we're about to say in particular as we ramble about Lupe for the next few minutes, feel free to hit the show more. And in the description, you'll see where the review starts and a track by track.
Yeah.
And based on some dude's suggestion, we should introduce a little bit what kind of music we're into, as well as our association with Lupe to kind of give some context to the review, because we are not trying to make the most professional, astounding. We're just regular-ass people trying to give some observations on this album.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. So it's not meant to be profound. It's meant to be three people on a couch talking
We're
about
learning
a Lupe album.
and explaining to you what we've learned.
Yep.
So when did y'all discover the Lupe?
Kick and Push. That track. I was young, actually, and I liked him on that track. It was pretty cool. The whole skateboarder vibe. I think I was skateboarding back then.
Are you any good?
Nope.
That's fair.
Like, straight up, I could do, I can kick and push. Can't jump or trick or anything. Anyway, with that, also, I liked him on Superstar. Then I heard him on the album Lasers. So I didn't really ever follow him, but I knew he had a certain sound, a certain vibe. And I've always liked his diversity. Not diversity, but he's always been different to me in terms of what I'm generally listening to.
Okay.
Fair. And what do you generally listen to?
Music that's not who I represent, that's me. A lot of gangster music.
Why don't you just give us some examples and tell the people?
Lately I've been listening to a lot of Ice Cube. I've been listening to a lot of, but okay, I jump back and forth. I listen to like Ice Cube, and then I'll jump to like Denzel Curry, and then I'll jump to, like Tech Nine, or like a Ritz. Like I keep going back and forth in terms of what I like. I like fast rap. I like conscious rap.
Okay.
Mostly rap, dude. Like I don't really know.
All
like
right.
I've never really thought about the music I listen to.
So-
I just know it's rap.
So now you know this is coming next week, so you can think more on the question.
Yep.
And Bonnie?
Well, we have to answer this every time. I feel like that's going to get a little redundant.
I'm certain we'll have quicker versions. But even then, you got to consider at this point, as much as there are some returning people, there are a lot of people who might only be encountering us for the first time today and now.
That is true.
Oh.
The first time I heard like about Lupe was I overheard when you guys like reviewed his newest album. I think it was
Drogas.
We did Drogas Light,
Yeah.
so that should hopefully appear in the corner if you want to watch that review.
Yeah, and then there was one song that like caught my attention. Like I don't know how I overheard it, or maybe you were like, oh, maybe this is a good song, or you were listening to it and I was like, oh, what's this song? And so there was so I never heard of him
And
before.
the song is Pick Up the Phone.
Pick Up the Phone. So I like that song. I do actually have it like saved. But this is the first time I listened to like an entire album of his or anything more than that. So it's only been like, a couple of months since I've really been listening to it.
And your music.
And my music style is a little bit of everything. It's I've got, a lot of the Beatles, a lot of old stuff. I like stuff from like the 40s and 50s and 60s. I like a lot of 90s music. 2000s is when, that was my prime time. So the 2000s,
like pop stuff
and like rock. I do like rap. I like rap like a little bit here and there, but like this has definitely been like an eye opener in terms of like what type of rap there can be.
Well, I mean, you get both sides as well. Like, you
Of
also
course.
hear the other, like, all the Headspace albums that we reviewed, too. So.
Yeah,
well,
like
it is.
Miley and
Anyway.
All of them.
Yeah.
So, like, I got on Lupe. Well, I remember when that, like, first hit he had came out in, like, 2006, and I didn't really like the beat, so I didn't really listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because I didn't like the beat of that first song, I very much ignored Lupe for a very long time while many people told me I should listen to him.
Fair.
And then that Laser song with The Show Goes On came out, and that was hype. And got on that for a minute, but I never really got into him. Then Rap Critic did that episode on Bitch Bad, and I had to listen to it. And I was like, oh, that's pretty good. And then, like, not long after that, we reviewed Drogas Light, which I think even now, after all these albums has come out, is one of the strongest albums that got released this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like it's going to be super hit or miss. You either like Lupe or you don't, but it was a good album. But, like, aside from that album, this will be, like, the second Lupe album, and I really don't know him. He's not somebody I have a lot of knowledge in. As far as music goes, I like rock punk. I do like rap and hip-hop, but a lot more of the lyrical stuff. I don't know. I feel like I thought I understood rap music until I started listening to these albums. So I know a lot about singles. I don't know a lot about the albums and the underground and a lot of the knowledge I'm supposed to have. So that's the whole point it is for me. And I'm a lot better with the rock music, where I did have a lot easier access to albums when I was younger. So
That's true.
I guess that's more of my background. But I've always loved both, and so this is just fun. So I guess back to Lupe. He's cool, and I like this album cover for this Tetsuo Youth album. Honestly,
Apparently he just grabbed it, and like it was just like one of like the paintings that he was working on, and he needed an album cover, and this was it.
yeah, like he painted this thing. Like it's him.
It also
He paints
defines
him.
him as well. Like it's also very personal to him too, and I feel like even throughout this album, there's a lot of personal like imagery, whatever messages, emotions you want to call it, throughout it. So I think it's a really great and bold pick to actually put something that you drew, like you painted at least.
Yeah, of course. And it's supposed to be like a tiger eating a human or something like that, or a human eating tiger, something like that.
I mean, I like the fact that it's got abstract lines and colors, and I like the fact that it's really distinguishable from other album covers. And
Well, it goes to show that he's like a variety of artist.
And like I do like it way more than Drogas Light. I think it's got some style to it. I don't understand the name. I know I maybe should have Googled it, but it's just so... It feels like it's trying so hard to be profound that it really makes me not want to care about the name, even if it's a well-named title. I don't like it. I don't like the eppersand. It's the thing I hate the most about the title of this album. I feel like eppersands don't belong
Why?
in album titles.
I guess I get
ridiculous.
your point. I mean,
That's me. It's a
no,
really
but I
weird
see it. I see it.
aesthetic
Like,
that bothers
just to
me.
see it, like just to see it there, and it's like in a whole title.
Right, it's
just,
perfect. It's like it even like hits like right in
I
the
feel
middle.
like-
It's a
I feel
perfect
like
balance.
What he's trying to get at is that like it kind of breaks up the flow of the words in a sense.
No, but look at it. I mean, even if you look at it right now, like it it has that good balance. And I'm guessing like Tetsuo, I don't know what that is. I did Google it. I couldn't find anything that was like explaining what that meant. But like
YouTube community, this is where I'm hoping one of you comes in and goes, "Oh, you fuckers didn't do it."
Of
This
course, I
is
mean,
what
I
the
honestly,
comment is.
I looked it up and I
Yeah.
couldn't find like an actual explanation as to what that meant. But I mean, for me, I'm guessing it's just like his youth and like,
Something.
obviously like maybe where he's at now or something. Maybe it's just like a, one of his
Well,
nicknames.
this was
or
also
something.
was released in 2015. Like
Yeah.
this is
Not
also
that long
released
ago.
2 years ago. So
This is actually, I think, the most recent Classic Quest album. And
Yep.
to be fair, it was requested by a few people who seem to like our other Lupe reviews. So here we are with that.
That's true.
I don't know. I don't have a lot more to add. I didn't like the title. I find it a mouthful to say. I don't. I get it. Maybe there's some art to it. I love the album cover.
It came out on January 20th, which is some holiday, I guess, in the Christian thing that we don't really follow. And like that's when I don't know what the
I don't know, but I know I saw
can't
he
even think
released
of
a
it.
single according to some other random arbitrary holiday thing that's like super deep Orthodox shit or whatever.
yeah.
Which is fair. I like his respect to the tradition behind it. He's a
There
very
is a
deep-
lot of like Christian, hints and things talked about throughout the album. Obviously,
Yeah, so I guess we should, move on to the summer.
yes, let's.
that was peaceful.
I
It was
like
quite
it.
nice.
I mean, the first thing you really hear on this entire album, especially with the word youth in the title, is some kids playing.
They're playing, they're
You
running,
can almost
they're
picture
laughing.
them by the beach here.
Yeah.
And there's water, and you can kind of get the ambiance, and they've got the vibe.
I was seeing it like as like kids playing in like the city. You know, like they were just like running around in parks and stuff like that.
I don't know. Maybe that's kind of the point. It's supposed to take you to something like your ideal. Because I felt like it's very emotion driven, and all 4 of these skits, right? Because all the seasons are there. We're meant to create an emotional context.
Well, yeah, but also a different like image.
Way to separate the album.
I feel like if you were to think of this album as like an entire like walk through a year, right? It's like throughout summer, boom, throughout fall, boom, throughout winter.
Yeah.
You know?
See, I look at it, I even put in our notes that we'll talk about all these theories at the end after we've gone through the album.
Of course.
Because there are a couple of points where, at first I thought it was a year, but I feel like it's more marking the passage of time in a life. And it's using that year to be like a metaphor for life, right? And so this is that, like, it just kind of creates this tone of happiness is coming, right? And that's really what's conveyed through the notes used in the music, and it's almost peaceful.
Is it coming or is it present? I feel like it's more present, to tell you the truth. Like, I think it's like right now we're happy because...
Yeah.
Well, everything's good in the summer, and like, that's kind of what they're saying.
So it's like the summer's here now. Good things are coming, right?
Right, okay.
So, I think we're saying the same thing, but because my time frame is just the next 2-3 months. But, like, the idea of summer.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it's conveyed pretty well. I gave it a 4 because, you know, it's one of those things where it's not like it's bad to listen to, but after this,
it's quite short.
I've heard it about 6 or 7 times now because I have listened to this album at work quite a few times, even if I wasn't focusing too much, and it's nice. But it's not overly profound. It's really
like
contextual
and like other
to the album,
top.
right? Mm-hmm. So it's like it really just works in the realm of this album. And, you know, some skits are kind of cool and can work all the time. So I give it a 4.
Fair enough.
Okay. I gave this one a 3.5. I mean, it did what it did, but it didn't, like, stand out, I guess. I don't know.
Fair. I also gave it a 4 on 5. I thought it really did what it was supposed to do as well. But it also brought you somewhere. And I think that whole... being able to bring you somewhere and contextualize like the next couple of songs realistically is really cool and very creative. It would have got a 5 if there was some lyrics, just maybe like a little message.
I'm gonna say that, like, you gotta look at it. Clearly, this album's an art piece based on the cover in his mind.
I know.
Yes.
And that the art piece is compromising, perhaps that kind of thing. Having lyrics to this would have killed the entire
and
effect.
that's where I kind of have an internal battle, because I do agree with you. I do agree that if there was lyrics, I just feel that there is...
I think it's really well produced. It's just kind of out of the place just to come on randomly. It works within the realm of the album, and that's dope. But it's still not.
But like best. as like a radio jam, like.
Well, it's not.
It's not. It's
yeah,
not gonna be.
But it's
like,
not
he doesn't
like,
want it to be
look,
either.
Like remember that like intro where it was like the music clips. I think it was Nas or Biggie, and it just showed him growing up through.
Biggie.
That was like insanity. That's like a 5 on 5 almost quality because of the vision. This is pretty cool. It's a good theme, but it's not break the fucking walls, you know? It's just good.
Fair.
All right, let's go on to Mural.
Yeah, Mural.
To see the vein like a chicken on the bond. Top cat chat, let's...
That was one hell of a song.
It's, 8 minutes and 49 seconds? It's very long.
Yeah.
So, I think the first thing
actual track,
totally worth saying about this track is it's 1,300 words. I think he did that on purpose because a picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
And this track is a mural, and this mural has more than 1,000 words. So see what he did there.
Nice.
And Lupe's deep like that. And that's what this track fucking is. Like, it took me a quick minute to understand it, because at first you hear it and it's bars for days, right?
It just doesn't stop. It just keeps
it's
going.
bars for days, but even at a first listen to it, I still got this, like, capturing feel of the society, of the people
but
that
it's
he's talking
more
about.
than that.
I know
And,
it's
like,
more
there's
than
lots of,
that.
like,
I
that's what
know
I
it's
mean.
more than that, but
there's
like,
lots of
already
things, like,
you
about
get
his,
that-
like, childhood and about, like, what he's seeing. And, like, there's lots
Exactly.
of contrast and back and forth. And, like, I think this is the one where he says, you know, he's, like, sorry for, like, mixing it up or whatever. And, like, you know, not really, like,
He's
giving you what you
embodying
want.
everything that goes on around him.
I kind of like, I wrote it like this. You can feel a sense of who he is, how he sees things, where he's from, and what he's accomplished all while dropping fucking witty punch bars express, and it's like it's interwoven, right? Because you can almost picture like. So I guess my sense on this song is almost every time you listen to it, you hear a different thing. Mm-hmm. Like your brain almost filters into certain lines over other ones, and it made me just picture some of the more complicated graffiti arts that happen to be located around my neighborhood, because my city's dope like that. Montreal, yeah, what's up? And basically, I noticed that when you do look at them, like you pass by it on the bus, every time your eyes are on a different spot on this mural. Like you're never looking really at the same place.
You get used to seeing
and you start looking for the new things in it. And the way he put this track together, I mean, he had lines like some, but they not apt to listen unless it's dropping on Activision. What is Activision dropping? The current line of a lot of sports games and shit. Yep. And he started really going like, oh, Lupe dropping bars. I mean, he has puns from everything on this song.
Yep. Like an Apple prison or whatever, he compares that to like the technology and stuff like that. What's going on? And, like, so he's criticizing like, people's like addiction and I guess like how they depend on like technology.
He broke down the entire structure of what our modern society is. Like, even though this did come out 2 years ago, I only see it came worse. Personally, I feel like he embodied like the mural of life. Maybe not life, but the mural of our generation.
I would like to curb your description. It's more his reality. I think it's worth really making it specific to Lupe Fiasco's existence, right? Because this is really personal. Every one of these lines is very personal to him,
right?
Yeah. And it's his
formulated in a way that I feel like he's also generalized. Like they're very personal, and I don't want to take that away from him. But I feel like he also did it in a way that anyone else can also kind of relate. Like
I don't know, man.
Maybe not to certain extent.
It's like if you're not a geek, you're not gonna get half these lines. If you didn't play video games,
there's not just those type of puns. There's also different things. Like there's also different. Oh man, I wish I remembered.
No, but like what I'm trying to say is, on the one hand, I get what you're trying to say. It's a lot of general commentary on a lot of tangible things in life, but it's all from Lupe's perspective.
Yes.
But it's so much that it's almost like hard to like keep track of like what it is that he's saying, and it's so long, and you're just like, oh my god, and it sounds just the sound of it is kind of annoying and like creepy. No, it's a little bit creepy, like that, like that, like kind of. It sounds kind of creepy. And so, like, it doesn't quite fit under, like, the summer feeling. I would put that more in, like, the fall, like, category.
Like, I don't know.
This song, because there's some context, right? So, at this point, it's his last album that he's releasing under this 5-year contract he was signed to, whichever fucking label he was signed to. And so for him...
Well, I think this was the third one that he was signed to, right?
Well, this is like the last album and the last record deal where he released Lasers and Food and Liquor 2, and his fans were all mad at him and everything was whatever. That's more relevant on the next track. But he was just
saying that he didn't care what the fans thought. As long as, he had a couple of fans, like he didn't care. He could make music for them.
But he basically copped out and sold out on 2 albums. And that was just flat out what happened, regardless, right? And so basically this was him coming in, and I feel like this song was a mark of accomplishment. This was simultaneous, because I don't know, I know you may not have enjoyed it quite as much as I did, but what I really liked about this song, and there was one part I didn't like, is when he went hard on the word rain.
I like that play on words that he was like, it's
one of the lines was like, it's like rain like it's rainy, and I'm like, dude,
rain like it's raining, not like Rain Man, not like like whatever else he was saying, with all this stuff. And I was paying attention, but it's like not Rain like the Queen.
It kind of like, I felt like a little bit killed it to death in a couple of places, like
the
a couple of places.
Yes,
but for the most part, this song is 9 minutes, and honestly, you don't even.
Because it's not really like.
You don't get. It didn't need a chorus.
No,
it did have that.
I felt it dragged on a little.
I didn't, man.
I felt just like near the end, I was like,
flow
okay.
Like, he
it's
kept
like
his
you could
flow.
Shorten it, and like I feel like it says too much.
I don't agree, because like the thing about this track is that it's kind of like a Bible verse in and of itself, or a chapter. You hear this song, and honestly, it doesn't ever break its flow. No. Its rhythm doesn't ever get destroyed. Mm-hmm. It's not like it gets, like, I know it can get long if you're feeling impatient and it's a long song. But let's say you're really in the vibe and you're sitting there listening.
It does stop when the beat drops in the middle when he says that one line.
And then it comes back in. But let's say you're, like, sitting there and you're in the vibe and you're just chilling there. Because this is an album you really got to sit and chill and listen to.
Yeah.
It's not really got another purpose but to, like, vibe to. and you put this on knowing that it's a 9-minute ride and you close your eyes and you're into it for that purpose, you're going to open your eyes when that shit's done and you're not even going to notice 10 minutes of your life just passed. Like, on the real. Because it's so well crafted and put together. There's a few little flaws, but to me, it's a straight 5. Like, this is a great example of what Bars for Days can really be. Because when it's your heart and soul creating a mural of your life, that is pretty passionate. And he's got bars on Konami and stuff. I think he got crazy bars. Like, I feel like a missionary to a clitoris. Like, just a random, like, everything, like you were saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of random stuff in there.
Right.
And, like, there is almost too much. I ended up, like, I did think it was cool. It was interesting. It was different from anything else I'd listened to before. But I gave it a 3.5. And, like, it's too long. And for me, like, I got annoyed by, like, the creepy sound of it. And I'd stopped paying attention, really, because it did go on for too long.
Okay, that's fair.
I give it a 4.5 on 5 only because of the length. Every time I listen to it, no, seriously, every time I listen to it, I kind of feel myself drowning out at, like, near the end, the last, like, 1-2 minutes. And I know that he's still going hard, and I know that he's still saying shit. It's just, I'm like, okay, like, for a first track, I was like, we need to, you know.
You see, I think it's the opposite. For a first track, Lupe drops probably the lyrical masterpiece of his discography. He'll probably never write a song as dense as this again, and he knows it. And if you're going to start an album, you can go hard or you can go weak. And if you go weak, you're going to be like, for a first track in an album, the complete opposite.
It's true.
I think this was the best movie could have made. It flowed in perfectly from the last one. That intro was kind of nice. You don't even know what's coming. Yo, and then you know what's coming. But so yeah, your first listen to this album is culture shock. Your second listen still culture shock. Mm-hmm. But it's the kind of album where on your 10th listen you're like, this is the shit. Anyway, I guess we've all given grades, so you can blur my hands. You can't see me. It's around here I realized why Lupe may never get the fame he always wants. Why? But he is the best at this shit that I've ever seen.
I don't think that he wants fame. I don't think that that's what it is. I think he's just being an artist, and that's it.
I think he once wanted the fame. And I think part of him still wants the fame based on Drug Gaslight.
Fair.
And I'm just saying myself, like
but he's also he has like this
something to say, I agree with that.
His father was a part of the Black Panthers, so I'm sure he had that sort of influence.
But like from what I understand, this song is essentially, if you don't like my music, fuck you. But if you do like my music, I appreciate you. All while trying to explain that he recognizes his blunders in the last couple of albums, that this is going to be great, life's only going to get better, etc., etc. And it's pretty good, like, as a song. But it's the way he comes at things. It's so obscure, and I like that. I like it a lot. Like, this was more of a proper song, we can call it, in terms of like length and structuring. I mean, it's still long. It's still like the first 3 tracks are all way above average, which is crazy cool. I'm actually enthralled at this. I was not at all worried about the length of this album.
No, and this one is a little bit, I guess it's like an average length song. It's 5:28.
That is long.
It's long, but it's
for a song.
Average like
on this album.
Yeah. Like an average length, I've noticed, is about 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, and guy Sebastian, is that his name? I like him on the hook. He comes in and does his thing proper. This beat he's really good. It's got a nice like vibe to it, but I feel like your passion level just went from like here, where I'm like here, where like I'm riding with it, and then it just kind of like dipped real hard. And I feel like there's a sense of self-accomplishment in this song. Like he's come to terms with that inner peace within himself, but but at the end of the day, this is just the one of the cleverest "fuck the haters, I love you if you love me" tracks I've ever heard.
Well, that's what he says. He said, I can be number 1 too, because he's talking about like the middle finger and like how that's like, standing up and Like, he's just trying to, like, not take it personally, and he's just trying to, like, do what music is supposed to be. He just takes that, like, so seriously that he, you know, that's all he wants. He just wants to be able to make this art and give it to you guys, and whether or not you like it, that's too bad, because he sees the importance of music, of hip-hop, you know, of rap, of everything, you know, and, like, so he's just trying to get it across, and whether or not you like it, you know, that doesn't matter to him. You know, he just wants you to, like, experience what he's feeling.
Right. And that,
to paraphrase, if you like me, cool. If you don't, fuck you. Listen to my message.
Yeah.
but I also feel that he's also trying to show that he's like, look, I get it, but this is who I am now. Like, he also is trying to acknowledge that there was some sellout points in his career, and that he knows that you're mad at him for certain reasons, but give him, like, a last chance. I felt like the level of passion brought down to this, like, kind of shaken up, not, I wouldn't say so much broken, but shaken up type feel in the voice as well, the way he presents the song. I was like, I could feel you. Like, you did something that you knew you had to do. You may have not fully felt like you should have, but you know you had to do it, and you kind of knew what the consequences were, but you're kind of you're here trying to apologize, but at the same time also kind of open up a little bit and be real.
All right, I see what you're saying, because even in the first verse he has that line where, like, if you're coming in now, this is like the end, and he's kind of talking to us who really fit that definition probably well.
Yeah.
And he's explaining that this track is that. Now, I respect and admire what the song matters about. Like I said, I think it's one of the best versions of this song I've ever heard in my entire life. And the way Lupe creates it is beautiful, and it's so honest. But I just don't like it as much. If I were to, at the end of the day, my subjectivity kicks in. It's not really the funnest vibe. It's a really, okay, honest, apologetic song, but, next to Murals, it just kind of, feels weak. And considering some of the other tracks on this album, it gets way better from here, in my opinion. So I give it a 4.
Okay, I also gave this one a 4 on 5. So I thought it was cool. I liked the gospeliness that, in the piano that was that was there. And I thought it was a good message, and it wasn't too long. So there we go.
I actually gave it a 5 on 5. I thought it was really great in terms of production, the way he did it. I mean, I might not be fully right on how he presented it, right? But I do like where I got it from in terms of sounding shaken and confused. So that was cool.
You were right. I think he was.
In terms of how I took it, I feel like this was a really great song, a really great message.
Actually, Chris, I think you were right and spot on.
5 on 5.
That doesn't make me like the song more aesthetically.
I know. I feel like I've already, honestly,
Chris,
explained it.
It's super fucking important not to sign on the dotted line. Dots and lines, whatever.
Dies, then off the hook for the crimes, try again, awful looks from the tribe, unlawful just.
Who doesn't enjoy some southern twang to start us off?
I love banjo. Whenever you get the banjo going, I am there.
It's such an enjoyable sound, honestly. It's very
summery, huh?
Very distinct as well. So you're just like, okay, let's go.
And then it just flows into a completely different song.
Yeah, that's not even. There's no banjo.
And then, but I think it was a context setter, kind of maybe trying to pull into where he comes from. I kind of actually know he's from Chicago, so maybe not where he comes from, but it's trying to create a certain context, and then it jumps in.
Well, there's a fiddle or something in the background, so it still has that bit of a country twang to it, a little bit.
And then from what I took, this is he looks at all these indie guys with some envy, he just wants to be them, while ironically they all look at him and they want to be him.
Wow.
And then because don't sign dotted line, and to me that's what I took from that, because he's kind of describing his life as an artist in such a melancholy, miserable, he can't wait to be free way. And this whole track is I can't wait to be out of my label, guys. Don't make that mistake and sign away your life to a label.
Well, I definitely thought that there was more to it. It was maybe Morse code or the dots and lines, something actually.
A lot to it.
I mean, I feel every single one of his tracks here has the core message of what he's trying to communicate. His religious message that he's interwoven in, the philosophical
different theories on this song, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
The first
Don't lie to
one,
me, Chris.
Well, no. The first one. I understood this whole dotted line, don't sign on it message deal, because throughout the song I did pick up on certain how he's describing labels actually, and how they're in a way labels and all these big companies were showing them the life that, you know, we as rappers or, you know, him as a rapper wants.
Yeah.
And then like you start working for the labels and it's not really what they promised you and a bunch of stuff like that. So that was kind of generic in a sense for me.
It's basic.
Okay, or you sign like SIGN, but then it's spelled SINE, and then once you're in, it's like SIN.
Yeah. So it's
Which
like, you know, you're
true.
signing your soul to the devil.
Well,
but
it's a generic song. It's hard to call something that's not that prevalent generic.
Well,
right?
But I also got another thing.
Because I'm just saying to that point.
Right.
There is a lot of people who went to record labels and got fucked, and if you look at, maybe it sounds generic, but then is it relevant? Let's look at, is it okay to be generic? Yeah, if it's relevant. So he took something that you obviously know everybody wants to get signed when they're 18. Everybody still wants that. Mm-hmm. Even though the record label, in a sense, is less and less relevant as time goes on. Mm-hmm. And multiple artists like Lupe have stories like this. So I feel like it could be the most generic song in the world, but this kind of message, if you can relay it in a way like Lupe did, that's different. It's totally clean to be generic, because it wasn't that generic. It was it referenced angels and shit at the exact same times. Crazy image.
This is where I got all confused a little bit, because oh my god, the second like kind of theory I got from this, because again I listened to this multiple times, was people like us three, or at least you and me, Holden, we idolize him, and he's not trying to like really group you in there, but like rappers in total, people who want to rap and be like in this culture and stuff. We kind of idolize him
as a signed artist with the platinum plaque and all.
Let him finish his thought.
Right. But they like I'm saying, like there's one part where I feel like he's talking about his experience and adventure through like the label, and he's explaining to people like this is kind of how it is. Then he's also explaining how like people look at him as a rapper in his life and how he kind of glorifies it and shows it off, whatever it is, but they don't really know what it's like. And then for some odd reason, with like all the angel talk and stuff like that, I kind of got this other theory that it could also be like about like a relationship, in terms of like looking at the other person and putting all the effort to be with that and trying to make something grow. Like that's far out reaching, I'll admit that.
You could basically take any song and probably get to that conclusion.
I guess so. I am probably reaching.
I'm not even trying to be rude. It's in the premise of the art of bullshitting essays. Like you could basically take any subject and relate it back to Freud and get an A, because you can just always sound smart doing it. But I'm not disagreeing with any other part of your assessment of this song. I think that's exactly what the song's about. That is it.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, guys, if I reiterated everything they said. I just...
Well, it's not that.
You didn't reiterate it.
You went actually into just a little more detail. Mm-hmm. And I think the symbology is Christian, yes.
Because they talk about other things. He criticizes, those who claim to be Christians, and then they're judging everybody. And, people aren't being... viewed equally, and they said, well, that's the opposite of Christianity.
But that's just Christianity. Like a lot of religions do that.
And he talks about the 3 lines as well, and like the 3 lines, it's kind of like a pyramid, but it's also like the trilogy.
That's why I stopped.
Christianity.
Because man, Lupe's into deep symbolism and stuff, and I know that it probably.
And wait, what's that other one?
Lyric has a route in something.
What's that one that everybody believes in?
The Illuminati shit.
That one.
And
maybe
that's
he's in the Illuminati.
See, that's where I stop going into my research. But I'm like, look, at some point I will go. But I just don't care about all the deep symbolism. I appreciate it. It gives me stuff to Google later, but I didn't care to like know every inch of this song right now. Yeah. I guess a 4.5 on 5, because I think it's, like I said, one of the best reiterations of this otherwise generic subject I've ever heard. And it really fits this album. And if you look at this season, now that we're done it shows that this is all the part of the album that's focusing on his music career. The last 3 songs are that. It's the Mural, the summation of his greatness.
Kind of like he went through this experience throughout the summer, if you want to kind of look at it that way.
Yeah.
I gave this track a 5 on 5. I thought it was produced amazingly. I love the chorus, like the whole sacred geometry, singing along to that. That is just so beautiful to the ears. And I like the message. I like how it made me go and make me really think and really get into like what he's saying, and there's more behind what he's trying to say, and it's just like this is a replayable track. So 5 on 5.
Yeah, just.
Well, I give this one a 4. I liked it. I thought it was well composed. I did find like there was maybe again too many messages or too much to say almost in this one, and that he's like just criticizing like a lot of things and what he's pointing out. And so for me, like there was like a weird message in this song, but then like when the banjo comes back and I don't know, it was an interesting song. I'll give it a 4 on 5.
Yeah, I mean it's not perfect to me. Like Mural is perfect. This is a little less so, but don't worry. The fall is coming, everyone.
Fall's coming.
We're already in fall.
Hashtag it's true.
What?
So now we got some nice stand-up bass, doom 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 doom. But you got the same kids in the background and almost the same kind of a setting they were in. But you almost feel like now,
you can hear them like kicking and playing in the leaves.
Mm-hmm.
But like you can even beyond that, like just take it like one step further. So you almost picture like it's the beginning of the day in the summer track, and now we're at like the end of the day with these things, and it's almost like you can feel like the kids almost have to go home soon. And the way the vibe is coming, you can almost feel the nightfall creeping. The days are ending shorter.
Yep.
And so like what you're noticing is this great period, this happy summery vibe is ending. It's like you had a really good day, and now it's about to change into something else.
Well,
because
it's not like suddenly changing. It's taking its time. It's now things are starting to happen. We had the moment where like we're kind of, I feel like throughout summer we kind of grew up and passed through all of the experiences that he was talking about.
Yeah.
And now things have started to change. Things in whatever around him, his environment, and that's what I think he really tries to make prevalent in these skits are with the kids, at least so far, is that it's about the society. It's about what he sees. It's about.
I think that the presence of the kids is even part of it. Like you gotta.
Well, I think it's just interesting that it's like slow. You've got the kids going. Everything's like feels like it does feel like you're walking slowly, like away from like all the kids that are playing and stuff like that. And like,
or even that the kids are getting farther away, or that because it's
to even take all of that further, look at it from like. Imagine also what are the kids seeing from the inside out. Like we're so focused on what are the kids, like, and I feel like a lot of people are focused on what the kids are, but what about what are the kids seeing, like their youth, their experience. And this is also kind of like Lupe explaining like how he grew up as a kid, and this is where he kind of lived around and the experiences as well. So is it the same? Like, just to take it further, it's very interesting.
Yeah. I like that it was a little bit more jazzy, like that,
Yes.
just the way that it sounded.
Yes.
Definitely the point was to take you from emotion level here and almost start to bring you down. It's definitely, like, it's not necessarily negative, but it does.
But it's like every pluck of the cello or whatever it is.
You can almost feel like it's taking your energy to a calmer, more darker place.
More
almost.
serious. More.
And
like...
I say darker because in my head in the summer when you just picture the bright blue sky, and here it's almost evening in my head. Like it's not
like
the same
4 or
time.
5.
Evening, and that's dark already.
3:30, yeah.
No, it's
still
no, it's dark. You can't say that
when the
because
sun
it's dark
starts
4 or
setting.
5 only in winter.
Look,
like,
we're in the fall right now. It's freaking October. It's the fall, and it's
like
fucking
6
dark at like 5:30, 6 lately. Like it's not really. All I'm saying.
Maybe I'm inside.
And then November is still the fall,
yes,
and it's dark by 5. And then only in December 21st does the winter kick in. And by that shit, we're at the fucking shortest day of the year.
Well, we know how, okay, yeah.
All right?
Seasons.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, 4 on 5.
4 on 5.
4 on 5.
Prisoner 1 and 2.
All right.
I want to talk about a fucking 5 on 5. This is an example of a masterpiece of a fucking song.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
I mean, even from the skit part at the beginning. Like, I'm not a huge fan of skit parts in the beginning if you check any of our older reviews where this shit happens. But this is just, like, it wouldn't even be this song without it now.
Right.
Because it's calling in and it sets this context. Like, all of a sudden, we're in jail.
Yeah.
Like, what? Okay,
Yeah.
fine, we're in jail.
Well, maybe not in jail, but somebody's
But you know what?
getting a call from
It's like
jail or
Lupe's
to
getting
jail.
the call from jail,
Yeah.
right? That's what I feel like.
Yeah.
Because that's what my note, at least notes reflected, is it's about a call.
Right.
And he accepts the call. And then the verse kicks in. and you just hear this guy going hard. Like he's like this hard and.
Well, it's Lupe going hard.
No. This song's actually inspired by a particular person. Lupe is definitely more a reflection of the second part of the song than the first. The first is him documenting almost the experiences of this dude who went to jail, is what I at least saw online.
Right.
And it's the idea of a prisoner. So Lupe, as I understand it, is not the prisoner. He's the recipient of the call, documenting what the prisoners almost got to say in the calls. I just got to comment on the chorus, man. The love is looking over various errors, and hate is habitually accelerating terror.
Yeah.
And I fucking love this track. Because I didn't have... Like, honestly, it's as dense as fucking Mural in terms of being able to pick apart specific lines.
There's a lot in this.
Well,
But, like, you can get the general feel of it as he goes from, like, trying to escape, I believe, at some point, and he's frustrated with the situation, all the way to fucking death row. All the way to, like, he's now going to fucking die and he cannot get out. And you just feel like this ever wanting to escape. He can't accept the reality. He's always hard. He's always ready to go.
Yeah.
But slowly things like he starts to get afraid he's going to get raped. He sees the hypocrisies of the system. He understands how fucked up jail is. And it really
Well, you understand that it's just a big business. You know,
It's-
and then like these, you know, the suckers, the people that they're taking advantage of are, you know, those in low income, and, you know, they're judged by the color of their skin and who they are and their education and stuff like that. And it's just ridiculous. And it's just like recordings of that. And it just, I don't know.
It is
But
fucking intense.
It's cool because I got, again, like, it was interesting to hear your theory on how you took the song, because I also took it as, like, the first
But
verse.
the part where he's writing about his friend isn't theory. It's from Lupe.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, the first part, I felt like you could also take it, and, like, I get that it's a story, and I get that it's very creative, but I also kind of took it of, like, we're a prisoner in the society we live in. This is what we do.
See,
right?
that's actually the point of the second part,
No,
though.
but wait. That's the thing. The first part I felt was literally describing, like, these are the moves I make, this is my consequences, this is what happened, this is how I got here, this is blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But because of these are my surroundings, this is my society, we're prisoners in this, you know, this thing. And then on the second verse, I really kind of took it as, like, first I thought it was the guard. Like, the character was the guard explaining that he's still a prisoner, but then I clicked and I realized that...
But they're also prisoners, too,
well,
because they can't escape.
Yes.
So
But
it
then I clicked and realized that the second verse was the prisoner explaining, like,
Well, no,
this
it's
is life
the
in
prisoner
jail.
and the guard in the second part.
Okay, so then I was right, because I took it as the prisoner
like-
was in jail
So like
explaining
it comes
how,
in
like,
with the
we're
prisoners
same
flossing
outside.
about selling bath salts,
Which is basically the same thing that you would floss about on the street.
yeah, like I'm a hardened gangster
Exactly.
type, because
So
that's
it's the same
prisoner.
type of reality.
See, I mean, I look at the first part like it documents that like hood life mentality,
Right.
like any other of these classic albums. But it's specifically documenting the futility of a prison system that teaches hate while promising love. And that's like the crux of what he's trying to drive home in the first part, as the chorus kind of summarizes. It's beautiful. It's one of the nicest chorus. I love the acronyms he put in. So in the second verse, he comes in, he's flossing with the bath salts for a quick minute. And then he turns on the guard and he's like, you. When he's saying you, that's the prisoner, the same prisoner, talking to the guard, calling him out and saying, you know what? At the end of the fucking day, you're just like us. You're here
Like
day
the
in,
prisoner
day
is
out.
talking to the guard.
Yeah, he's basically saying you're a prisoner.
Yeah.
And then the guard kind of comes in with, he does the
Like
chorus.
He was
like
just,
a
yeah, but he also
conversation.
says, you know, just let these people die. Just like, don't
Yeah,
just throw
yeah.
away
So
the
he
key,
comes in
whatever.
from like the chorus on as the guard, but the guard is jealous. Like he kind of implies where he's actually jealous that these prisoners get released, and the guard, trapped in the society of this life, has to go back to this fucking hellhole every single day, and even the prisoners get out. But that guard who's allegedly free has to spend his whole life inside of the prison. And on that note, I feel like that's where Lupe comes into it, and he's trying to play up a bit on his
Jim
like
Crow's
record
law
label.
and, like, all that stuff too, as well. Like they do
It's
talk
really
a lot
deep.
about
It's
political
really
stuff, and
packed.
yeah.
Anyway, go on, Bonnie.
I was just saying, you know, they talk a lot about Jim Crow, and they have like the Crow sound and everything that goes along with it, and it's just like, I don't know, it's interesting. It's very interesting. There is a lot that goes on in this. I can understand why this song has a lot of meaning for a lot of people, especially in America, when, you know, the jails are full of black people, and like, you know, it just, like, obviously this song is going to be like a protest song almost for the people in the jails and for those who are outside of it, and they're like, that's true, like everything that he's saying, that it's all making sense, and it's just like a way again for them to come at, you know, like the prison system knowing more and like being like more prepared for like what, you know, what life is like, and it sucks, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I love it. I thought this song was a straight 5. And it's another one that's crazy fucking long, pushing 9 minutes.
Yeah.
But it doesn't... It changes so much. And
I
Well,
think
like the
that's why
first
I
song
did-
and like the second song are like two separate songs, but kind of together at the same
Yeah,
time.
I
but I
mean-
feel like that because of that, and it wasn't like a Slash song; it was a
But-
full thing. And I feel like
I don't even feel like they were two separate songs. I feel like there were two perspectives on the same idea.
Yeah,
and then it was
yes.
told. I mean, yeah, in theory,
Like, it doesn't
it's
stop or-
basically the premise of what every Slash song is.
Mhm.
But it wasn't. It didn't feel like that. It felt like a perfectly executed masterpiece of a track.
Yeah.
It's one of the best songs I've heard on Prison. Like, I mean, the fact that it has multiple perspectives, the fact that it goes into so depth, the fact that it captures the emotions behind it, so fascinating. Like,
Again, there's lots of like Christian values kind of interlooped into like many of like the lines of the song, you know, whether they talk about a lamb or they talk about something else that's there, you know, they do cover all of that. So it's interesting that he's able to take all of this like shit that's going on in like the prison system, and he's criticizing Securus and like, you know, how this is like a big business and everything else, and then, you know, at the same time he's throwing in like, you know, religious things, and you know, it's interesting. He just does a lot with his songs.
That's true.
I give this one a 4.5.
I gave this a 5 on 5. This was truly creative, and to see both sides of the story, to get both ends of the straw, I mean, it's ridiculous. And I like how there's a lot, like, I've realized lately that a lot of songs are very either direct in what they're trying to say, very clear, or they kind of leave some mystery. But when you listen to this song over and over again, there's always something different. Just like the rest of the album, there is always something different. But I like how you can kind of look at it and relate it, because I also got a feeling...
Listen, this is no Murals.
I'm not going to fight that, but I feel like I
I'm
wanted
just
to
trying
say something.
like it's got a lot of complexity to
No,
it.
I know. I wanted to say something a little earlier. I also feel like, you know, with the part where he's like, and you, and he's talking to the guard, I felt like he's also talking to like the outside, the government, the people who put them there, like how they kind of run, how they're kind of crooks, how they should be in jail as well. And I like, there's so much to pick apart.
See, I don't think it's about how they're bad. Just that part and you. I'm thinking he's looking at the guard and the jailer. So in that case, he's looking in the government and saying, you're pawns just like us. That would be a better example of the comparison you're trying to draw.
Straight up.
Because that's what he's saying. It's saying, you're no different than me. You're just a prisoner to this jail.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, all I can say is this track is an excellent example of his body of work. So as I understand this one, it's a little bit about kind of how hip-hop is about superficial things, how it traps people into going after these superficialities.
But it's also about his battle too.
And it's also about how he remains pure and he wants to write intellectually stimulating stuff, and he does it in an intellectually stimulating way. I'll give him that. And that he doesn't necessarily understand why his music is passed over being the pure knowledge and the pop stuff is what it is. But it's not from a jealous point. It's almost from a point of concern that this is very negative stuff happening. I feel like the chorus was super nice. I really did like the Troi Martin and Terrace Martin. I don't know. They came in, they sang, and it was all right. But like at the end of the day, it just was all right to me. The rhymes were good, the flows were good, the beat was good, but it wasn't exceptionally next level. And as much as I love hearing songs about the state of hip-hop, and I understand that he's got a fair and genuinely good point with it, it was a little too obscure in terms of... Like, I could follow what he was saying in a lot of the cases, but, like, here's where you need the cipher to crack Lupe for a minute, and I don't know that this song really encouraged me to want to crack the Lupe cipher on this one, because it didn't have enough going for it to want to go Google all this shit, whereas something like the Prisoners or the Mural song really did make me want to go and crack the Lupe cipher and delve into the lines.
Okay.
And that's my thoughts.
I think like the first part was like, you know, like there was like lots of religious references. There were a lot of, you know, like people and things that he's referring to, and then he talks about like the color of his blackness, and you know, like how that's almost like a, you know, like a prison, and like, you know, is he light enough, is he dark enough, like he's just judged on, you know, based off of that. And then he's got a closet full of bones, just don't try to put them back together. And I thought that was an interesting line, like as well. You know, it's like, you know, we all have you know, skeletons in our closet, you know, just stuff that you don't want out in the open, you know, but it's stuff that can't be put back together again. And it's interesting. I liked there was like a Bill Bojangles Robinson that was like him tapping and swiping his feet like with tap shoes, obviously. And again, like that was sort of like a sign for like Morse code, and like in like that, you know, like a different sense. And anyways, I just thought it made me think of Earl Snake Hips Tucker. And anyways, you should go check him out, Earl Snake Hips Tucker. Go check out his like dancing, because he's really, really cool, and he's old school. But I think that it was just like is it like illegal? I don't know, just what he's talking about. It's like what's happening. There's trouble in like, you know, in his community, and he just wants to see that, I don't know, that this get help. I don't know, stuff that's taken care of.
I feel like it's a lot of the trouble stems from what the music's about and what the messages it's promoting.
It's
and
like
it's
everything is like a hidden message.
But
Well, I mean, it's back and forth. There is a lot of hidden messages. I felt like this one was somewhat complex in a term where there's obviously something like that's layered, but it was also very, for me, straightforward. I felt like he was talking about the body of work as an individual, that we're all a body of work, and that's very literal. We're a body, and we have things that work and things that happen, and just even the line itself, like we're all got issues, we all have problems, we're all a big deal, we're all something. I got that. But then I also think that he was also, again, talking about somebody, maybe not a relationship, maybe not like a girlfriend or something, but somebody he's got like this relationship with, and he's like kind of saying, like explaining that they're a body of work, and there's a lot of in-depth with like people on this song. And
I don't really know what you're saying. You basically said, so are you trying to say that everybody is everything?
Basically, like in a way that everybody is all the same in this, and it makes it, and I feel like it made him go a little crazy to think that.
But did nobody else see this as like a criticism of hip hop? Am I like the only
No,
person
I
who
saw it. I
Yeah.
saw it as a criticism of hip hop.
Like you
as well.
both just went off in different directions and left that man. I feel like that's the whole point of this song.
But like that's it. Like from the very beginning, like that's what he was saying. He was saying,
describing it through the religious metaphors and stuff, and maybe describing a sense that there is more to people than that.
No,
but
I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I disagree with that. I'm saying that I like how there's also you can also get different messages in terms of how you listen to the song. Like,
I mean, I'm saying that there's a lot of different messages I can get. That one I don't understand at all. That's what I was asking what you meant by, because basically what you said, if I understand correctly, is Lupe's an individual, but everyone's an individual and everybody's part of everything.
Yes, and to shorten up what I said, that's initially what I said. I guess what I'm trying to say is that for me, when I listened to the track, there was just this, I don't know, this vibe, this feel of like he's trying to just like explain like how he sees things and how he sees other people. And I know it's about rap, but I also got this like kind of trying to like, he's relating rap to a bigger picture. I can't really pinpoint what, and I apologize.
That's what we were saying, that the consequences of the subject matter interlope into society, therefore relating rap to a bigger picture. I mean,
then I guess I'm sorry for that, guys.
I don't know. Maybe if you YouTubers can translate this.
If you can decrypt Chris Chrome's, message.
Look, I'm not trying to be a dick. I've got real confused there for a second.
I want to try doing that actually. If you guys feel like I sent decrypted messages, please try to decrypt decrypt them and let
Yeah.
me know what you think I said. And
What did you give it?
Decrypt them.
What did
Decrypt them.
What did you give it?
Oh, I gave it a 5 on 5 actually. I thought this was really great.
And
I thought it was really,
it's a
really
4. Mostly because I thought that musically it's bland. It's really not the best example of Lupe. It is an okay filler song for this album in
good.
terms
I felt
of
it
energy.
was produced nicely. I felt like the vibe was set properly.
It wasn't excellent. It was okay.
Like I gave this one a 4. I thought it had like an interesting jazzy kind of composition to it. But that's about it.
Yeah. Now, next up is Little Death. Yeah. Now, I can really empathize with this song in a huge way because I had a complex religious background where I got taught everything God thought was proper and not. And with this song...
Thought was proper.
Well, here's the thing. What I learned,
Yes.
and this is Holden's sole opinion about the current state of the church, is it's not really about what the Bible says.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the way it's been interpreted through hand-me-down messages over generations.
The tradition of it.
And that supersedes it. So when you're hearing things in your church, it's not necessarily what the source material says per se. So it can create a certain degree of confusion. And this song, like if you look at the first verse, right? It's looking at the conflict between religious norms such as God hates gay people against...
But doesn't he say that? And it's going to be like, he knows it's going to be a problem for everybody.
Yeah, and then at the same time, he points out how now it's societally incorrect to be against gay marriage.
Yeah.
So if you're in that position where on the one hand you believe God hates it, but on the other hand society hates you for hating it, and you're put into this complicated position, and it just starts from there. And I'm like, I feel like it takes a minute for like the point of his song to kick in. Like it's not like super clear at first, but when I really started, like, and if you hate it, you're a bigot, and you're just like, you know what? For a long time in my 20s, I had this like inner conflict between knowing that God didn't want me to like gay people and actually having no problem with gay people. But it really creates this conflict when you have that guilt and that feeling that is just inbred into you from childhood that this is the way it is. And so I like that he captured that confusion the way he did. And then, if I'm not mistaken, the second verse takes like the fucking strangest turn I've ever taken anybody about religious.
Cutting up food.
But it's going into the barbaric ways animals are slaughtered all throughout the religious traditions, right?
Right.
And if you really consider the way that animals are taken care of, and it's like almost required, like you cannot be a proper person following what the Bible is saying and be a vegetarian, as an example. So then on the one hand, you have society's conflict against meat, and then on this other hand, you have God saying, but you must eat meats to do this thing. So that's just, I guess, the simplest way to describe it. But if you really look into the Bible...
Unless you're like Hindu or Buddhist or something.
Yeah, but this is really, I think, about his Christian past.
Well, I think he's, it was brought up, I think, a little bit Muslim as well, no?
Maybe, but even then, the Muslims and all those...
His real name, his real name, or his middle name is actually Muhammad.
Fair, but like all three of the monotheistic religions will share the same traits. You slaughter animals for God. And then on the other hand, now slaughtering animals is bad. I guess that's what the point is. And then the third verse is like about
changing.
Well, yeah, but it's just the position that you are in as somebody trying to follow God while understanding society's rules are drastically different.
I'm gonna state this now. I did not get any of this. This was like the one track. I'm gonna state this. It's the one track that I thought it was produced fucking well. It was great to listen to. I enjoyed it. But even reading it and just trying to go, for me, it was just so like.
Yeah, and then the
well,
third verse.
It's called Le Petit Mort because, and it's
Death.
Little Death, because that's what they say in French is an orgasm. Because when you it's like you die a little bit on the inside when you have an orgasm.
I did not know that. But I just wanted to say one more thing.
Yes.
Third verse, justice system, the confusing rules of justice in the Bible versus real life, etc. Okay, great song on conflict. Nikki Jean has a killer fucking chorus. I found the track super interesting, and like you said, it was actually well produced. Unlike the previous one, this one had some life to it, a certain distinction and feel.
Yeah.
I give this a 4.5 on 5.
And
Like
it's funny you said life because it's called Little Death. So I also got that too. I was like, I like how he plays on these contrasts at times.
I didn't even
He's
see
very.
that.
I don't know if you've noticed, but he plays on a lot of contrast with the titles of the songs he uses. And this is just a general like fact that I've noticed. Just over the course of Lupe's albums, and I go back and I look, he has ways of word means this, but then you listen to the song and you're just like, I get the message, but it's happy, like you sound happy, or this is a happy sound, but you sound angry, or it's.
But like that's what I mean. Like this song should be happy, essentially, and exciting because you know it's an orgasm. It's based off of that, and then it's like boring, and it's not anything like an orgasm.
You thought it was boring? You thought it was boring?
Bonnie's like, oh, the song's about God.
No, this wasn't about God. This was about like
was completely about the
like
role
little
of...
death, and it was just like the interesting way that.
Yeah, but
it
was about like the conflict of religion in society.
Yes,
So
and like and how death, is mentioned, and like how to kill properly. I guess it could also be shown. How we treat animals and how we can kill them, in the right way, and then but we aren't doing this to humans. Anyways, it was just weird. For me, I just thought it was a weird, kind of not really exciting song. So for me, this was a 3 on 5.
To that point, that was the societal expectation versus the religious expectation.
Of course.
That's the song. Anyway, I get it. You don't like it.
My bad.
All right. Are we all done on this one?
4.5.
Oh, okay. I agree with you. That was a good mark. No scratches, please.
So this was nice.
Banger. Like straight up fantastic.
It was okay.
Jewel of a gem.
The banger comes later. Relax.
No. Like what I mean by banger is this song. Like if there was a baseball and it connected with the bat, it was banged out the fucking park. That's how fucking awesome it was. It was an interesting take on a failing relationship, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And you got the
he
whole
just doesn't
car
want it to
crash
hit the wall.
and
all
escape
that
out
stuff.
of it.
Well, I like
it's
how
the
he
words.
acknowledges it. I like how Lupe is the type of person who can admit that he's like, look, before we crash and lose our minds and start hurting each other, let's acknowledge what's going on and just try to do it for the better. And
man,
I
it's
feel
the
like,
way he phrases it.
Yes,
like
yes,
the love
especially.
enters the waiting. And I used to be patient and all of that shit. Like it was just.
And then it turns into wasting my time, and then nobody wants that. Everybody just wants there to be like either don't let it crash and burn. Just end it now, kind of.
Like
I love
so
how,
often
I like how
you
it's
don't get
honest.
this tone in rap. Like
But
the way he approached this track is not a tone we're getting a lot of, right?
That's true.
Like normally you're getting more of like the Eminem Rihanna experience or something a little more aggressive or something. But this is just like it's almost like a rock song in the way he wrote it. It almost feels like some of the punk rock love songs I've come across in my life. And I really like that element of songwriting that he seems to have drawn from. I know Lupe loves that shit.
And maybe he doesn't want to actually get scratches, but he also doesn't want to get scratches on his like relationship card.
Right. But like it was more just the metaphor, the calmness to it, like the beautiful
the
chorus.
honesty. I like how there's a lot more, because as growing up, I heard a lot of rap songs where it's like we break up, like, forget that girl, forget this, nah. But I like how I've now discovered some more music where it's like the guy is being honest in terms of what he sees, how she's breaking and how she's acting, and he's acknowledging that, and he's not blaming her or like throwing dirt on her. He's like, look, we can fix this. And I feel like there's not a lot of.
Well, he's definitely not saying we can fix this.
No,
I feel like he wants it
I'm not
to
trying
end
to say
now
like fully fix it, but like we can fix.
We could avoid this from getting worse.
Right.
That's the point. It's like we can't fix this. Is actually more the point. We can't fix this. If we try, we're gonna get those scratches, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that
I feel like he wants to have a good memory of the relationship that he had with her.
He wants to like keep it at that place before it gets to bad, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I thought it was really well composed, and it's really cool. It's an interesting end to this season, so to speak. I give this a 5. I truly think it's a fantastic freaking song. It's like I like the idea of a relatively decent destructive relationship song. It's not like over the top with violence and abuse and pills and shit.
But he's just like, all right.
Relax yourself. This is a pretty cool track, is all I'm trying to say. It's exceptionally well made.
I give this one a 3.
Wow, Bonnie's like, I like my happy relationships.
Right, I get it.
Relax.
I'm bored. Like, there's really not much to it. Like, for me, like, again, it got biblical. There was, like, it was quoting, walking 500 miles,
said,
which made me think of, like, that
the
90s
God-
song, Tub
and I
Thumpers.
would walk 500
And,
miles.
so I don't know. It did what it did. Like, I got, like, the whole, what he was trying to present, that it was a car. He didn't want to get scratches, that, he's trying to get out of the crash before it happens. But, like, for me, like, this wasn't great.
Okay.
I thought it was great. I thought
know.
it deserved a 5-on-5. I thought
agree
he
with you,
really
Chris.
captured
Amazing.
the essence of a fucked up relationship. Sorry, robots.
Maybe Bonnie just doesn't understand because she didn't have to live through that shit.
Hey.
I just get out before I can,
So you're really good at those scratches.
Yeah.
Bonnie's good at cutting people off real quick.
Bonnie's good at putting a winter-like mood on my grade. So there's no kids, right? I mean,
Nope.
nobody understood his reference because they didn't have our off-camera conversation. I just wanted to make it weird for everyone for a minute. Okay, no, but like for real, there were no kids here, and the entire vibe is different. You almost
It's
picture.
sort of just like a fiddle, like
Eerie, creepy
and
vibe.
it's like shaky,
to
and
be
it's
fair, a fiddle is a fucking violin. I mean, they're not, but they are. They're just held differently and played differently.
well, I thought it was a fiddle, not a violin. So there you go.
Okay, but it's just played in like an eerier sense. You can almost picture like a blizzard's about to
Yep.
come. And he's from Chicago, so they get snow.
It's like that cold, it's the windy city, Chicago. So it's it's cold
It's
and
very
it's
dark,
windy,
very
and
eerie,
and, like,
very...
it almost sounds like a swarm of bees, but like it's more.
It almost is
like,
really like the
it's the wind.
opposite of the nice happy summer vibe. But
Sounds like Wizard of Oz when Dorothy gets up the tornado. That sound. I literally got that feel the first time. I was like,
That's true.
yeah,
That's
what
true.
am I
It's-
out of Kansas no more? Like,
anyway, I think it serves its purpose. It closes off last season.
well, it
where-
clearly brings us into a more serious, darker.
That's
The
it.
happiness is
Like-
gone now, and we have to talk about
like
some.
now
real
everybody's inside looking out, and there's hot cocos waiting for the warmth to come
things. I
back.
don't
I
think
think
there's
we're
hot
just imagining
cocoa.
that.
I just had hot cocoa in my memory as I said that. Okay, relax yourselves, people. I give it a 4. It is equally as good as all the other one of these skits. You can even guess what I'm going to give Spring at this point, but I thought they were all really well placed, served their purpose.
It was a 3.
It's a 4.
A 3? Why?
It was short. There wasn't a lot to it, and
'Cause
it
there was
was
no
quite
kids, right?
repetitive.
There
It's
was no
probably
kids.
because there was no kids playing
I
outside.
understand.
And like,
And you know why there was no kids?
yeah, why?
Because there's a chopper.
Troi, my mama, y'all. Sitting on these, I'm about this feet. I'm about this.
This is the song Chris was referring to as a banger
This is
earlier.
a banger track. This is 9 minutes of intense fucking gangsterism, and
It's pretty solid.
it's solid. It's really cool. My theory on this was that Lupe was basically kind of mocking a lot of the rappers who think they're really hard and really come from the streets. I was told I was wrong.
I'm not going to say he's wrong because with 9 minutes, I don't know half the bars at all yet.
Well, it's just
But
there's a lot
here's
of
what
like,
I got from this track. Based on that chorus where he's saying shit like, medical card from Obama, that's how I get health care. Food stamps for this or whatever, that's how
Right.
I get
Well,
food.
he's talking
right.
about welfare and about
And then background check for a chopper.
And that's what I was
how I
waiting
get
on.
a gun.
But see, that's the thing. I've always had this impression that gangsters just get guns, like if you're from this type of like thing, they just get guns. You don't do a background
highly
check.
recommend-
Technically a
It's like
background
an heirloom.
technically a background check is like we're checking you to see if you're a criminal or something
Well,
like that. So I was
In
like, how are you
fact,
going to do a
I would
background
highly
check?
recommend you just research gun control because it's a hot debate right now, so there's lots for you to look at. And we can go into that a whole other time.
just don't
But
use guns.
basically, I think what this song is trying to convey is that it's so hard to get things like proper food and etc. But even with these background checks, it's so bloody easy to get a gun. Like these rules in place are useless because these guys go through it. So I took notes on everybody.
Yeah.
First, Billy Blue, who's apparently an actual gangster type, introduces Lupe. And then Lupe does his awesome hook. And then Billy Blue kind of comes in with like real gangsterism. He comes in with his darkness. You kind of picture him going around, and his real context thematically.
His voice is also very deep.
Very cool.
Like,
I love the voices on almost all of them.
With him.
And he kind of seems to explore how easy it is for him to get a gun. And but it seems to be hard for them to get things like food and medical support.
Well, they're clearly all like poor and hungry, and like they can't even get the food that they need. The food that they can get is ramen, and then they get sick and they get told that they need to eat better. But then their Medicare is not really covered.
And then he needs the gun to get the food.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's where the gun comes down. And then
it's another like
Buck comes in, Chris, because Buck comes in.
Good Buck comes in.
And describes some real hood stuff, and his voice gets kind of low and deep and has a cool effect to it.
I'm also saying.
Freaking love
the
it.
song is like very.
And then Trouble comes in, and Trouble's interesting because Trouble isn't really gangster with it. He's almost like pointing out that it's very specific to him that it's his right to have a gun, and he legally wants one for his protection or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he almost seems to be like that. And that there's no health care, and they wanna put him whatever, put the guns down, etc. But like really, there's a point for them. And Trae the Truth is next, and he's got a cool voice too. More on the healthcare issues, family.
Well, they're all talking about the same thing. They're all on welfare. They're all poor. They all don't have education.
Just a bit of a flow to their like verses, right? It starts off with like super hood shit, and then it migrates more into we need guns because like there's a lack of healthcare and stuff. And like, but like as much as they are all touching on the same things, there's almost like a congruent flow of general subject matter across the song at the same time.
Yeah.
And then I really think that Family kind of sounds a bit like Jeezy, which was pretty cool. And then he kind of sounded like a macro gun distributor far away from everyone else. And I think he's talking a little bit, about the criminal side, but also about like the corporate exec types who are selling all these freaking guns that are causing all the violence. But he's showing how distanced he is from it all and how he doesn't care because he just doesn't even see it. It doesn't bother him. Mm-hmm. Glasses Malone comes up with some fun, weird shit about double standards on his daughters. Like he has strippers, but if
he doesn't want her to grow up to be a stripper,
and he kind of whatever. And then he mentions he has guns, but Glasses kind of didn't seem to fit the song as much.
Yeah.
And then finally we get Lupe, and then Lupe brings up the interesting point that it shouldn't be shocking that they have police gear and powerful tactical weapons because they bought their shit off the cops. I'm like, the song kind of is just full of shit like that. And I know I said a lot. Honestly, I don't know how else to describe this run through all 7 dudes.
Yeah.
And that's how I did it. The beat's pretty bangerish. But my one criticism is that beat doesn't change a lot for the 9 minutes, whereas his other 9-minute tracks had some deviation. So it really relies on each rapper being different, which they are, and they are all excellent. This is one of the.
But they're all rapping about pretty much the same kind of thing.
But it's all. But it's the same thing in terms of the general, like the bigger picture.
Well, here's an
but
example.
it's all individual and
they all have a story to tell.
But I feel like if you were to compare Family's verse, where he's like a macro boss over there, and you compare it against the first guy, Billy Blue. Absolutely different verses, and there is this flow to the subject matter.
Right. I'm not saying they're.
But yes, the song is about choppers.
Is choppers, yes, but
anyway,
individually, it's like they all got their own experience.
I give it a 4.5. I thought it was really great. It's not a 5. It's
straight 5.
It does. It needed a little bit more out of that beat's life, given the length, to do something. Considering it's the longest track, I think, on the album.
To be fair, I did only give it a 5 on 5 a lot because it's the first song on the entire album that's this hard. Like, I feel like throughout the entire album, there's a lot of really well-produced music, well-produced instrumentals, melodies, and just a bunch of shit. But this was the first, like, when this came on and it was this hard, I was like, okay, this is the first actual song.
I don't actually know that this song is overly hard as it is highly descriptive.
I feel like compared to the other, like, smooth melodic
what
tracks,
I think it is this is the closest thing to a trap banger that exists on this album. I don't know if hard's the right word. I think it just kind of sounds like modern trap.
Fair enough. 5 on 5 still.
Well, I give this one a 3.5.
Barney, you're fired.
Like I get it. Like
Five
I
is as
understand
bad
that
as
it's
her
like
3.5.
like a filet mignon and whatever with the food stamps. Like I get all of this stuff. I get it. Like it's just for me. Like I get the idea. It just doesn't seem to be like an original idea. Just because like I've heard it before. It's him and it's all his friends or whoever is on this album.
When
This
have
track.
you heard a track that's criticizing the availability of healthcare against the availability
Well,
of
I
gun
just meant
control?
like with guns. Like that's what I meant.
But
Like
the
about with the guns.
effectiveness of gun
Yes.
control versus that you've heard in it?
No, obviously not. I haven't heard that, but like I've
You're
heard.
just like nitpicking.
'cause you guys
like,
are
I get
like,
you. I
this
get
is
you.
a super
but you're just
generic
like,
song. I'm like,
No, I don't think it's.
I
I don't think
this
it's
is pretty
an
far from
origi-
generic. It's pretty
Like-
original.
Okay, it's original, but like for me, like I get that there's like this discrimination. It's always well, I don't know. For me,
Like this
it was
is a
just
song
really long, too.
literally about the shit that's in the news right now because
well,
of the
then
shit.
because it was Obamacare.
No, but it was about gun
It's
control.
practically the same shit.
The song is not about anything more than how useless gun control really is. And how these
Well,
background
yes.
checks are stupid. And how
Yes.
they should be prioritizing shit differently.
Yes.
That's the song to me, at least. I don't know. I'd say it's well executed and unique in terms of it. It's just that there's
I
like
wouldn't.
7 of them.
Like I don't think it's unique. Like, I think it's an interesting topic. I do think it's interesting. It
But,
is
like, we're
top.
talking about, like, from rap's
No, you know what?
perspective.
You know what? I get it. I get where she's coming from. I think in terms of like where Bonnie and I because we are kind of dragging on now. I
don't know
think
about that.
in terms of where Bonnie's coming from, it's really gangster, and for her, she listens to one gangster song.
But
It
it's-
kind of just blends with the
But
other
it's
one.
so not gangster.
Well, no, not that it's gangster, but it is like
It's
telling about like their lives and about what they're going through and like
Right.
how how
But
they
that's-
need these guns in order to like survive, and then but they can't get anything else, and this is where
But-
they're
but
stuck.
it's-
And
but
this has
it's-
been
it's-
told before about the hood, about like how they're trapped and guns and
kind of not what it's about. It's more about, government, you're putting all these background checks on guns, but you're not giving us food. Like, it's about specifically the idea that because it's really probably relevant to the 3 or 4 year current conversation on gun control that just doesn't end.
Yes.
Like, it's a non-stop debate because of all the shootings.
Yeah.
And I think what he's trying to specifically say is at the time Obama and the current Trump administration is, your gun control laws and the way that they are, your background checks are ineffective to preventing the problem.
Yes.
And what you're doing when you're proposing make it better or harder background checks, it's not going to work. And here's why. Enter the thugs who know how to get guns.
all right.
And I'm going to say that is totally not a subject.
Yeah, but like that's it too. It's like you can even get them on the black market. It doesn't matter.
We can go into that in a whole lot of other ways. But yes, I agree with you. But that's the point. The whole point is that your background check's fucking useless.
Okay.
Anyway, so, I guess the next track is Deliver, which I really like.
These niggas don't wanna stop, but niggas ain't got no job, blah, blah, blah. He's a man.
This was a really cool song.
This is very, very cool.
Like, I
This is
even,
a big one.
Googled it. There's not because I was wondering, like, if I'd heard this before, but no, I couldn't. I don't know if there's another example of it, but I couldn't. When I Googled Pizza Man Won't Come Here No More, all you could find was this track as, like, the main reference point.
Yeah.
And just the idea, right? Like, I've never really made a comparison of my life to the hood that was so
Right.
stark of this is the difference. If the pizza man comes to your door, your life ain't that shit. Is kind of really the point of this song.
Yeah.
And he goes and he describes the hood mentality in a lot of ways. And he uses the word hood excessively in a great way. It doesn't sound
Yeah.
bad. And he builds up this impression of this is kind of the hood thing. But it's almost like he's there and he's looking around and they only realize how fucking bad it is when the pizza man won't come there because
there's
it's
too much violence and-
for the pizza man to deliver it. It's not safe for him to come into his part of the...
And even if he
Yeah.
does get there, if you're following the last song, what are do they have food stamps for this? Do they have money for pizza? Probably
got
not.
choppers.
Well,
And they're probably just gonna shoot you for the money, for like the pizza, and like that's gonna be it. And like,
In
or not
fact,
shoot you, but like,
There's a song by Dead Prez where, like, I don't remember the name of it right now. I think it's Hell Yeah, something like that. Either way, they go through and they just describe ordering pizza for the sole extent of robbing the guy.
yeah, like
And,
that's what I
like,
mean. Like,
That
it's,
is, I guess, a genuine thing. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's so distant from my reality that I couldn't forget that. That I could since I first heard the album like a month ago, that line, the pizza man won't come here no more. I can't. It's like it's just that was it. That was like this almost like it made me just realize how fucked up that situation is. And the song really contextualizes it well.
Well, and the pizza man drives like a nice car and like stuff like that, you know, like better than anything that they have. And, you know, so they're showing up and the guy's, you know, maybe he's going to get his car stolen or, you know, maybe they're going to, I don't know. You never know what's going to happen. They say he's got a nice car and like all this other stuff too.
Well,
and so it's like, well.
It's really just, he really captivates, like Holden said, the hood mentality, and that there is certain precautions that these pizza people have to take. But it's kind of very blatant. Like, you know, I realize it too. Like, I order pizza, once a week? I'm over exaggerating, but imagine going from once a week to nothing.
Well,
right?
I think it's bigger than that. It's imagine going, man, my neighborhood's getting kind of bad. Things look like, oh crap, you know how bad it is? The pizza man won't even come here. We are the scum.
But that's what he's describing. He says that, you know, like black people in the basement and white people in the attic. And like it's very much like it defines who you are and like where you are in your life. And it like, you know, I think he mentions, or at least he talks about like the ghetto, like, you know, how the Jewish people were in like World War II, like how they were in the ghettos. And so like, you know, how they were kept there and like, you know, nobody would obviously deliver food to them either. And so, I mean, I don't know that there was necessarily, you know, actual food delivery back then, but
your point was received.
Right? I'm like, so, I mean, they can't, I just think it's really interesting. It's that, you know, that's how you know that it defines who you are and it like makes you question yourself, like just by being there. So
That's
it's
true.
interesting.
And Ty $$$ Ein appears on the track doing some nice harmonies on that chorus, which is beautiful. Honestly, it is my favorite track on the album, hands down. I gave it a 5. I think it's beautiful. I think it's totally worth listening to. And if you don't understand the hood at all, it might give you something to think about.
Yeah, I give this one a 4.5, which is pretty close to a 5. Like, I don't know if I want to listen to it every day, but like, I mean, the message is strong. Like, there's obviously, you know, it delivers.
Oh,
nice.
And
I gave it a 5 on 5. I felt that this is something you can listen to every day in terms of.
Well, this was like the first hit, I think, as well.
Well, it's also I also kind of
no
got
video.
this. I kind of got this feeling of like, dude, wake the fuck up. Like, you know how like you kind of go through life and people are like, there's always somebody worse than you. Just imagine not being able to order pizza to your house. Straight up, like I say that
but
because
at the
I
same
take
time,
advantage.
I think he's also trying to speak
be
to
honest,
the hood and say,
yes.
guys, this is why the pizza man doesn't come to you no more.
No, I do agree. I do get that sense as well that he is trying to like go for both sides. But I think the realistic picture is for everyone who's on the outside looking in with all these like different points of views, and he's kind of just looking there like, listen, y'all want to know how bad it is? Come here and order pizza and wait about, you know.
No, I genuinely don't know that that's where he's going with it. I think he's more trying to say, just consider the pizza man won't come to where I live. You know, like
because they're just too scared. They're scared of, you know,
it's like,
black
it's
people.
Like,
you know, it's just ridiculous.
It's like, just consider this. The pizza man won't come to my. It's like my house is so horrible. The pizza man won't even.
No, it's more saying that the reality that I live in is so violent, that there's so much bad shit, that there's prostitutes sucking dick in the hallway, that the pizza man can't come here because he's scared. He's too scared to come to where I live.
Yes.
Right?
Fair.
Anyway, I guess that's Deliver. I gave it a 5. Everyone said their thing.
Yeah.
Madonna and Other Mothers in the Hood, yo. So yeah, this one
mom song.
But it was more like it's more like the struggles of the mom, but the kid gets like gunned down and killed through life because there's no father present. And I think it's trying to like frame a reality of what happens in these environments where the mother is never around and has to work so hard and then feels so overwhelmed that she feels the need to turn to drugs and shit. And then the kid grows up in an environment where he starts doing what he can to get by, and you know, as time goes on, he gets
and he
involved.
has to fight to survive, right?
And then at the end of it, he kind of dies on the couch, like the scene it references.
Like Ricky from Boys in the Hood.
Yeah, which is what happens, which is a great movie if you haven't seen it. And ultimately, it was like a really pretty powerful story, etc. But like,
Well, imagine that's your only child, and then, that happens to him, and it's just, I mean, not that it would be any worse for any of your other children, but, I mean, if that's your only child, it just seems to, really get you.
And especially if you tried so hard and worked so hard and you couldn't. And I feel like it's a pretty tragic tale, and it's really sad. I don't really... the video was kind of weak sauce for me. It was very over-the-top production of a story that seemed very loosely related to it, but... I kind of like the fact that he's white people, I guess. I don't know what he was trying to play there. I don't know. I'm not really trying to criticize it too much. I'm just not a huge fan of the video. It was relevant.
Well, and he's just saying, the Holy Mama is your mama now, and it's like you're going to go to heaven. You're going to get there,
right.
So, and, I mean, it is interesting.
Nikki Jean is back again on this one. She's featured a few times on this album.
It's a very tragic mom song. It was great. It was powerful.
I give it a 4.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like I was really surprised to see that this one got a video and everything compared to other ones. I was like, I appreciate the idea that you're trying to create this adoration for moms and stuff, but it really didn't focus a lot on the mom. It focused primarily on the son. Okay. And then it really played heavily on the religious, symbolism, almost to the point where, Jesus, it's almost like comparing this son to Jesus and the mom to the Virgin Mary and and I guess what he was trying to do makes sense, but I feel like he kind of went a little too far on this one, enough to make it a little off-putting as opposed to amazing. But I give it a 4. It's well made. It's just not, the greatest track on this album.
Fair enough.
I like the song. I mean, it was good. There was a good message to it as well, just to try to I guess all the moms need to in the hood, just a reminder of what they go through and what is expected of them almost, and then the reality that plays out because of all these things. So for me, I give it a 4.5. I liked it.
Nice.
And you?
I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Okay, so do you have Adoration of the Magi?
Yes, I do.
Chris, why are you playing with your phone? You just a baby.
Don't cry.
It's okay, Chris. Anyway, this might actually be my least favorite song on the album, just because he went too hard on the cryptic shit. It really wasn't a bad song, if I understand it correctly.
Well, this was his he made this album for Jesus, and he was giving it to him, and that's when it came out, was whatever the day was, January 20th or whatever.
That's what we got from this song?
Yeah, that's what I got from it.
Oh, I got, he was trying to look at how, the fast lane creates a dark illusion over the world, and so the idea of getting money as your worship and all that other shit is real bad.
Yep.
And that he's almost, that's the adoration of the Magi, as I took it, is this lust for this fast lane, and he's almost saying maybe that's not exactly the best thing here.
Right.
Well, it's just saying what people are willing to do for money in the hood, and just what it's like.
But how appealing it is, almost like it's a giant marketing scam that comes
it's
there.
And I get it, because growing up, I also, again, followed rap music, and there's a lot of bling, a lot of cars, a lot of women, a lot of drugs, a lot of this in rap music, and you kind of want to be like them at a certain point. And not just that. Let's take it another step further as well. Let's look at the TV shows. Let's look at what's our surrounding us, our environment, our fashion, our commercials. Everything is sort of kind of veering towards a more, I don't know, free type
and then,
free flowing type society.
But then he's just too cryptic, and then the verses, they're clever as fuck. No, the chorus is apparently really clever.
Yeah.
He's referencing 6 classic album covers, Why You Got a Tear Under Your Eye, You Just a Baby is Lil Wayne's The Carter 3. Yeah. Why You Chasing Money, You Just a Baby is Nirvana's Nevermind. That's really clever, but on the other hand, that's the level of obscurity I'm talking about.
You really have to know what's going on. Every word means something.
And a lot of the songs pretty much every other song on this album had more relatability than this one so far in terms of it. Like, what really kind of irked me, and maybe it was just personal, he goes, like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and apparently that's from a particular video game. And then he goes as far as to be like, I don't have to even name it because everybody played the game. Well, guess what, Lupe? I didn't play the game.
I didn't play the game. I don't
so
know.
So now you just went, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and I get it. Like, it didn't sound terrible, but it did sound like I didn't get your joke, and you didn't want to explain it to me because I'm too stupid. And that actually irked me.
Maybe you're too white.
No, this is like a Sega Genesis game, and I'm actually pretty sure I might have played it. But at the same time, I don't know what you're talking about. It would have been helpful just to not make fun of, like, just imply everyone gets it. And that's a little bit like I get. Maybe I'm supposed... Look, I get it for a lot of your shit, but when you're making obscure video game references, come on, dude. 3.5 on 5. It is still a decent track, but it's not that good.
Fair enough.
I give this one a 4. I like the
video.
beat of it.
Do you remember the video?
Yeah.
He got to free the nipple on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, not
yeah.
just the nipple, to be
Well,
fair.
the video has a bunch of stereotypes of all walks of society walking into a strip club as she strips and gets all sorts of naked. Go on.
Anyways, I like the beat of this one. I gave this one a 4 on 5. I liked it. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like an awful one. I wasn't offended by the fact that I didn't know that it was the video game or whatever it's referenced. So yeah, I mean, that was it. That's what I thought. I think that this was like his gift to Jesus. Was this?
It was
whole
the part
album.
where he said everybody knows the damn game, so I didn't have to say it.
Did you look up that sound? Because I'm just going to state, sounds a lot like the sound that happens when you die in Mario.
No,
and if you don't
it's from
know,
like Double Dragons or some shit.
Are
like
you
that.
sure?
Yes,
Because
it's on Genius. Genius annotation points to the specific game. I just don't remember right now.
Because I swear, I'm pretty sure it was when you die in
That is
Mario.
totally not what the dying in Mario sounds
Yeah, I
sounds
know
like.
what that sounds like.
It's not that at all. That's don't take my doo-doo-doo-doo-doos as like a rendition of what he did.
Fair. I like this. I like this song. I liked how he basically kind of called out a lot of people in terms of like, look, you're still a kid. No matter how old you get, no matter what you do, we still hold this child inside of us. We're still babies. We're still somebody's baby.
That's true.
Yeah.
And he was kind of questioning like, dude, just remember, you want to go be a gangster, you want to go live this life, dude, you're still a kid.
That
like,
part was there too.
I don't
Yeah.
care if you're like 20 years old, 30 or 40, like you're still a kid making big boy decisions no matter how old you get. And you know what? Being 23 and starting to really make some grown up decisions in my life, I can relate to this. Maybe more than Holden, but I can relate to this just
What,
because.
you think at 29 we don't have
No,
to
just because you
talk
said you
to
can't
40?
relate to it.
I mean,
That's it.
I said
It's literally because you
Okay,
said I
fine.
can't relate to it.
okay, fine.
But I can see like where he's trying to stand at, and you know what? On one of the albums, you made this comment, and I get it. It's kind of like the big old drug dealer on the corner looking at the little kid like, "Go to school, kid. You don't need this life."
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's more like the guy who didn't sell drugs from the corner, the geeky philosophy nerd in the corner saying the same thing here.
Right. But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like the type of image that I'm getting from this is like, okay, he might not be a gangster, but he's been around this environment, and he's
That's
kind of,
true. He's from
Yeah.
Chi-Town.
trying to inform everybody. So I gave this a 4 on 5. Whoa.
A 4 on 5 or a 5?
I gave it a 4 on 5. I gave it a
All
4
right.
on 5 only because I didn't think that it was very necessary to quote any of like the people's like Biggie's, Nirvana's,
I thought that was
and
the best
Weezy's.
part of the fucking song.
I didn't get it. I was like, I get the symbolism because they all
but
have
once
kids.
I got it, it was the best damn part of the song. It
I-
was 6 album covers with babies.
Yes.
And I got that. And I got that right off the bat because I looked at all the albums before, but I just don't understand the relevancy of having that in this type of
Because
song.
the song's about the influence of role models, and those are
Oh, okay.
and that's super relevant.
Fair enough.
Anyway, They.Resurrect.Over.New.
Tron.
Feet on a re-sling. Slow line. Meditated till there's no mind. Decorate me with
Absol is Lupe Fiasco light. That's how I feel. That
Okay.
guy,
Okay.
like seriously, that's his verse. Like it just sounded like he jumped on the Lupe vibe proper, but the sustenance and the knowledge and the profoundness of what he was saying was like the light version of Lupe.
Fair.
Otherwise, yeah, their lives are leveling up, and that's like the song.
But like he's just like he basically is telling you listen to the song backwards or listen to the album backwards. You know that there's like another level to it.
Yeah, he said that in here.
Yeah.
Like directly.
Basically, yeah.
Like this was a huge like news revelation recently.
Well,
on
the whole
internet.
point that he makes it about him being stuck in a loop kind of alludes to the fact that you have to listen to this.
See,
in
I
a
feel
loop
like
way.
people
Yeah.
didn't catch that right away. Based on
That was instant for me. I
but
got that.
but keep in mind, we all came into this review knowing that we're supposed to listen to the album backwards. So looking for that
I
piece.
didn't.
We all watched that Justin Hunt video before we started talking about this review. You and I had the conversation about it long ago.
My bad.
So yeah, we all had the conversation knowing that listening to the album backwards was profound. So seeing that now with that knowledge in hindsight, I don't know. I didn't really find it that obvious as a listen to the album backwards. I felt that this was a good
Like this was like his wrap up because this is like the last words that he's saying, and he
And-
wants you to like, you know, he wants you to really take it seriously and level up and get, you know,
But I feel
listen
like
to
he's
something.
trying to explain, because if we think about how this album started, he's explaining how this is the beginning of the next chapter of his life.
Yeah.
And that's really where he's at now, and he's hit the next level, and he makes a couple of video game references. Tron is apparently a game in the 80s as much as it was a movie. I didn't know it was a game too.
There we go.
Well, it
And
started in the arcade, dude.
I didn't know that. I just said that. And I feel like it's really just his accomplishment track featuring Absol coming in and being Lupe Light. And you might
I
not...
liked Absol better on this track, and like
Whatever, Absol's okay. I mean, we did not like his album that came out most recently that we recovered at the very beginning of this, but I feel like Absol said it, like Lupe said, I'm a stoner version of him, and that might actually be kind of it. And I don't know that I don't know. I don't really like what Absol has to say, and it's no criticism of him as a rapper. I don't like his logic. I don't like his line of reasoning.
Okay.
And that's more of a philosophical argument that I have with him, which is not the worst problem to have with a rapper, is all I'm trying to say.
fair enough.
Look, I thought this track was a great summation of the album in terms of what he's going for.
Well, it was perfect placement as well.
But I give it a 4 because it's definitely not the best track on this album. It's okay. It's, again, a little bit out there with the references, and you can feel like he's almost trying to have fun with it a little bit at this point. He knows he's hit the next level, and he's allowing his inner geek to fly for a minute.
Fair enough.
It does.
Gave it a 4.
I mean, it's a 4 on 5 for me. I thought it was like a good placement for the song. I mean, this definitely does conclude the album, you know, as much as it's going to. But it was definitely an obscure thing, like the whole Tron thing. I mean, I didn't know what that was. Like, I mean, I've heard of it. I knew the movie, but that's about it. You know, and the fact that, you know, each one stood, you know, TRON, like it stood for it in like the title. I don't know. It was interesting. But yeah, 4 on 5. I'll just say that.
Well, I thought this song was a 4.5 on 5. I really liked the whole Tron techno type beat in the back. The references to that. I liked how they were speaking about in the loop, and if you really take it to the next level, if you think about Tron the video game, dude, you die, you start up, you die, you start up, you die, you start up. So
well, like every level gets harder and harder, and like it's something new that you didn't know what was there.
I also took it in the sense of like he keeps having these obstacles and he has to loop back and kind of refigure it out, and then he levels up, and then he has to loop back again, and then he levels up, and then I totally agree. I got a stoner version of Lupe when I listened to Absol. I enjoyed Absol more than I enjoyed him on his own album, to be honest with you. I enjoyed him more on this song.
Yeah, but this is 2015. It's an unfair comparison.
Fair. Apparently he's better back then than he was now. Sorry, I'm being douche. But,
Okay.
I mean, realistically, it was really cool.
All right, so Chris has a spring in his step.
Uh-huh.
It's spring.
So yeah, now we got birds added to the mix. It's very reminiscent of the first track, only with birds, really.
Well,
Yeah.
it's the rebirth. It's the rebirth, which,
I mean,
in terms of how the album was placed in this sense, I feel like this is the rebirth after all the pain. Especially with the previous song talking about resurrection, we are being reborn out of the loop
I feel
into
like it's kind of almost describing
place.
that life is cyclical, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so at the end of every winter is a spring, and that is the next level. So yes, I suppose rebirth to me that's a strange choice of words, but it does describe the sentiments.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. I mean, like, yeah.
Anyway, if y'all might have guessed that I gave this one a 4, I do think it works. It fits the theme of all the other skits on the album. It is an apt closing.
This one just sounds like summer. It sounds like the beginning, like, song.
With birds.
But with birds and, like, with kids playing ball and, like, running around. And, like, it was a little bit more orchestral. Orchestral. I don't know how to... Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, it was all right. It did what it did. I gave it a 3.
I gave it a 4 on 5. I really liked, again, how it's like we're starting anew. This is the cycle. I found it a little bit dark, actually, just because we went through this whole experience of the album, and then it's like, oh, and now we're reborn. And if you were to kind of just replay the album, it's like...
I totally don't think it's about, like, reborn.
I don't mean reborn in, like... But I feel like...
Like, I don't think it's a redemption tale. I think it's about
I'm not saying
leveling
redemption.
up.
I'm not saying redemption. I'm literally talking about, like, the circle of life. Like in terms of the seasons and how it just kind of, like, restarts. And
I
it's
mean,
like,
I know you saw,
live through
like,
a bunch of this.
Chris, I mean, I know the word resurrect was in the last title, but like, I feel like it's more specific to this is the next chapter of his life. It's not about resurrections. It's about that part happened, that part happened, that part happened, and even if it's dark, even if it's light, the next part's just going to keep happening. And you can adapt to it and you can get better, you know? And I feel like it's trying to draw it all into a loop, you're right, but all I'm saying is the idea of a new person coming out of it. I'm not seeing that as much as it's just the continuation of things. It's more like the Lion King. It's like the circle of life.
Well, that's where I get the new person.
No, I know. But
like,
within a person.
Like, fair enough.
I just wanted to say the Lion King. So yeah.
Anyway, that was the album, guys.
Yeah, I gave it a 4.25, a little higher, 4.3. I realized I did my math wrong. On 5, I think it is definitely not the most spectacular classic of all time, but it's true work of art, and it's kind of like one of those high-end art pieces where
that's it. He likes making art that people, he doesn't care whether or not people understand it all or not.
Like, you really...
Well, it's more, you know what?
It's totally not meant for the average person, and he's okay with that.
It's his redemption album, actually. Like, in terms of the last 2 albums from before, I feel like he's trying to come back and be more honest and humble with himself on this album in terms of his fans.
I don't think this is humble at all.
Well,
it's not like he's like bragging about anything.
Like humble in the sense
this
of
is
this is what you want. This is what I want to give you.
This is more like I'm going to create the greatest art piece that's ever come out ever. Honestly, I see the ego of Jay-Z in this album, but I love it. It is totally fine because he produced this excellent art piece that honestly justifies the packaging. Like it is exactly what you were getting for it.
It's an abstract, weird look at life.
If you really think, if you're the kind of person who's going to think Chopper is the best song on the album, you're going to hate it. Like, you really will. It's totally not for you. But I thought it was brilliant. 4.3, I guess, yeah.
I gave it a 3.75. I didn't really think it was going to end up being like a classic on my end, so I'm glad that reflected. Like, for me, it was just too much of randomness and, like, I don't know. The songs were really long, and I went in with with someone I was very excited when I went into this. But for me, no, it wasn't a no.
And you?
Mine got a 4.2. I thought it was great. I like the entire album. I like the way it varies. I like the different emotions and the roller coaster ride of up and down, and just the playability of being able to go one way. And I guess we're going to talk about this now since we've given our...
Yeah, let's do it. That's because
going back the other way.
Because I even took notes for that before you...
insane.
Hold on, I can go... I took notes. Did you take notes? I did. So I wrote down a little quick summary of every song so we could go through the story of the album in both directions real quick because, I thought that might be helpful.
Yeah.
So we have Summer, a positive, joyful tone setter.
Yep.
Mural, the canvas and the summation of Lupe Fiasco, right? Yes. And that's kind of where it's starting.
Yes.
And then, Fuck the Haters, I'ma Be Me, kind of an explanation of a piece of the mural. Labels and dots, kind of how he got to the mural. That's like labels are evils. Dots and lines, sorry, labels are evils. Then The Fall. Summer's over, shit's about to get darker. The Prisoner song, it's all metaphor. Lupe feels trapped. Body of work, criticism of the state of hip-hop. Little Death, contradictions of religious and its philosophy and society. No Scratches, messed up. It's all kind of getting all sorts of dark shit. Then it's like the winter comes and it's eerie, cold, dark shit. And now we're in the hood and stuff, and it's like guns is everywhere and Deliver with the hood being bad, and Madonna and Moms have it bad in the hood and stuff. Adoration, it's like the life in the fast lane, etc. And then They Resurrect, achieving the next level finally to a positive thing. So it's like you go through this almost decline like that. But really, the story of the album is a lot better if you listen to it backwards. Like Lupe was trying to get one of those things where you had the long line of text, but if you read it backwards, it gets happy. So if you do read it backwards, you got this positive, joyful tone setter still. And then you talk about how you're achieving the next level. And when you get to the next level, you find out that the fast lane's pretty misleading. From there, you realize the hood's all kind of messed up and moms have it hard and people are dying and shit. And then you start thinking about it when you realize that the pizza man won't even come to your hood at this point because it's so fucked up in your circumstances. And you start thinking about it further and you get to the realization that gun control is all useless and stuff and guns is kind of everywhere. And now you're in the middle of a dark and cold and awful winter and it's super bad. And then your relationship's kind of whack and it all gets kind of messed up. You go a little bit further with that, you know, you're trying to find yourself, but religion's confusing and stuff. And then you start looking around and as you're educating yourself more, you start realizing the shallow state of hip-hop and all this other stuff. And then you start noticing things like how you're a prisoner in society and all these other things, like with the Prisoner song, to which the fall starts kind of going through it. And it's like shit's kind of less dark now, right, than it was in the winter, but it's still kind of dark. And then you realize that the labels are kind of evil and then fuck the haters, I'ma be me, ending with the canvas of your fucking life and the positive, joyful shit. And yeah, so that's what he was going for. So when you do play the story backwards... Too bad time doesn't work
like that.
But it is interesting how he did manage to create this album where when you tell the story backwards, it makes sense. I guess Kendrick was inspired by Lupe.
Yeah.
Timing, just saying. Anyway, that's all I got. I just wanted to throw that in there in case anyone came here specifically to hear about that.
Cool. Well,
Nice.
I guess that's it then.
Yeah, I hope y'all liked the video. We truly appreciate you watching. Don't worry, we're back with more classic reviews coming up. We got Woo Weekend next weekend because double woo. Woo! You know what I'm trying to say. So if you liked the video, please like it. Subscribe to the channel for more content. Feel free to holler at us in the descriptions and all the stuff's below in the comment. Tell us all about why we were right or wrong and all that other stuff. And let us know you love us or hate us.
Go wild.
Cool.
Have fun.
Yeah, you don't have to answer them. Anyway, have a great night, everyone.
Bye.